everyone, and welcome to this special Mother's Day episode. Yes, I had to come up in here for a minute to do the introduction today because it is Mother's Day, and I wanted to arrive here and bring you a greeting as the cold, judgmental, condemning mother that y'all wish that you had. Yes, indeed. It is me. I am here live to bring you a special Mother's Day greeting, to bring a little extra judgment, a little bit of extra slap on the backside to let you know you ain't gonna get away with this whole grace and love thing so easy. I'm gonna make sure that you remember, some of those things that you don't want to remember. Yeah, I've been watching y'all this week, but I'm here to just be that nagging voice to keep that inner critic going, just in case you thought you were gonna get a little nurturing, nice little mothery kind of greeting today. We're going to straighten this thing out. You know, this whole Mark DeJesus thing where he's trying to be all nice, trying to be all kind and the love of God and all this stuff. I'm just here to remind y'all, keep it straight, because I'm watching you. I'm watching you, and I've got a sandal ready to throw across the room and hit you. I got a King James Bible ready at all times to tell you what you need to hear. I want to make sure that I fruitfully condemn you today. Can't be laughing. This is church. I'm serious right now. We got to be serious before the Lord, know what I'm saying? Because I'm anointed and I'm discerning that there are many who need a special church lady greeting. So thank you all very, very much. And happy Mother's Day, unless you've been sinning. And if you have, no happy Mother's Day for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there that are tuning in today. And if you are a mother and you're tuning in today to this live broadcast, I'm quite honored, wonderful, that you took time apart from your celebrations, or maybe lack of celebrations, or maybe it's a difficult day because of what mother means to you in your life, in your journey, wherever you're at, whether you're having a wonderful heavenly filled day or a lot of hell is getting into your day. Welcome to this broadcast. Mark DeJesus here. I am your friendly neighborhood brother from another mother, welcoming you here. So do me a favor, click that like button and subscribe. Go over to markdejesus.com where you can check out more about our materials, resources, including my latest book, The Myth of the Perfect One. This is a field manual for those of you that battle relationship OCD. You desire to be married and you have this anxiety, this sense of intense uncertainty and doubt that wars at you. I know this battleground and know it very well. And I'm grateful today that I am happily married and was able to work through numerous aspects of this. And in the book, I get into a number of distortions that seek to get in the way. And one of them is this myth that we get sucked into, this whole idea of, I got to find the absolute perfect one that God has for me. Sounds nice, but it's got some underlying distortions that can really get in the way of what it means to walk in maturing love, to walk in unconditional love, and to grow in the power of the Father's love for your life and for your journey. So get a hold of that. And of course, a great companion has been the OCD Healing Journey. This will be a great companion book to go along with it. Do me a favor, get both of them. And if you appreciate and get a lot out of it, write a review. That helps me out a whole lot. Please know that the Myth of the Perfect One, we're still waiting on the audiobook to be approved. And it was officially submitted May 1st, and normally within like a day or two, it gets approved. So I'm not used to it taking this long. I say 10 days, and today is 10 days. So maybe by the end of the day, we'll see. I don't know. If not,
then somebody's going to have to make a phone call. That's what we're talking about here.
So the church lady will take care of that for me. And also to let you know, I will be, Lord willing, the creek don't rise, next week, continuing some Bible study stuff on First John, and looking forward to doing that. Today, we're going to get into a ton of questions. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I would not be the man that I am here today without my sister from another mister. She's the love of my life. All that I cling to. She is an amazing wife, amazing mother, and
more than this world.
And that's not codependency talking. Ladies and gentlemen, Melissa DeJesus is here in the house. Everyone give her a round of applause. Happy Mother's Day to my love. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here, my love. Welcome.
Well, it is wonderful to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you have a good attitude, because if you didn't, we're going to have a little discussion here going on.
Here's the question. Is the church lady a mother?
Well, it's complicated, because I do have a daughter that every now and then I will answer her phone call, but that's about it. Yeah, it's complicated. She says I'm not nurturing, and she says I need some grace, and apparently I talk too loud, and I'm judgy, and I'm looking out the window all the time judging my neighbors and complaining about how their flowers are in their house and how they mow the lawn a little too close to the boundary, and apparently I'm too interested in what other people are doing. So she has blocked me. And it's kind of messed up when you're trying to call your own daughter and it goes immediately to voicemail. I get an AT&T message that says this number will not receive phone calls from you. I don't understand why. I think she just needs to get a little bit more of the Lord in her life. And when she's ready to get the Lord in her life, then maybe I'll think about speaking to her. So just pray for me. Pray for me on that. Pray for me. I'm persecuted with this. My daughter's persecuting me. And, thank you very much.
It's rough up in the church lady house. Oh my gosh, that is awesome.
I had no idea I would do that much.
I know. Well, as you were as a church lady was talking, I was like, I wonder if the church lady is a mom.
In one of my expressions, I did talk about a daughter, and
okay.
She's got a daughter. And,
Okay.
They have problems.
Yeah. Well, I'm not shocked. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Apparently, she keeps sending me links to this channel, and I'm like, who's this Mark of Jesus guy? Is that even his real name? I mean, seriously. He says he's a pastor, but I need him to be more condemning. I need him to be more with it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh gosh.
Happy Mother's Day, my love.
Thank you.
You look so lovely today.
Thank you. Like people are asking, where's my blazer from? Amazon.
Right on.
It's so comfy and it was cheap.
Right
and
on.
Who doesn't love the Amazon clothes? Okay.
I love me a good deal. So way to go,
Yes.
sister.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Feeling a little sassy today with my blazer.
Fantastic.
Yep.
I love
Some
it.
little curls. They
I
kind
love
of
it.
fell, but you know.
I pray that you feel honored today.
I do.
Well, you're a wonderful wife and you're a wonderful mother, and I appreciate all that you are. And
Babe.
well, yeah, this journey has been amazing because we both have a lot of goofy, broken stuff we brought into marriage. We didn't know how to do this journey, but we both wanted to learn and wanted to grow and wanted to grow in love. And it's been wonderful to see how our love has continued to grow, and it's come out of the commitment we have to just keep learning, keep growing.
Yes. And, I want to say this, though, even though it's like, to honor mothers, but how much that you and I have worked on our marriage and worked on ourselves, I think is where we can truly appreciate, like, even a Mother's Day and appreciate these things. Because, we people throw around, oh, go honor your mother, do this, do that. But, well, this is kind of harsh to say. I shouldn't say it.
There's a whole lot of things I think that you would like to share here and say. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that, Mother's Day can be tough for a lot of people.
It can be. You're right.
And we put this, oh, you have to go do this and you have to go do that. And it can be tough. But there's also a part, too, of growing in who you are as a mother. Mm-hmm. And there's been a part of that I've had to grow in of feeling because you know me, like I downplay birthdays, I downplay things, and I'm like, no, forget it. Like of feeling worthy too of that. Of you've been really good at encouraging me to just receive that, because I always feel like, well, I could do better. You know, because it's been a long road.
Yeah, and it's
of learning how to be a mother.
Yeah, especially when we don't have our society, and a lot of people relate to this. We walk into marriage being husband and wife, and then also trying, the journey of parenting and trying to do that when you have a lot of things you have to unwind from. We were even talking about this today and this weekend about sometimes, you look out and you want some examples. You want somebody to be an example to you. And even in ministry, we were talking about that specifically too in ministry of looking at couples. Anyways, go ahead, babe. Yeah. And not to make a black and white statement, but it's been very challenging to find in ministry connections and stuff, people that value marriage. It's like they value ministry so much. And then marriage is kind of like a secondary thing. Yeah. And we've really made a decision that we're just not going to live like that.
No. And I'm going to say this too, and it's not a blanket statement, but the people that have to gush all over social media about how amazing their spouse is and all, like, we've just seen too much.
Well, and it makes other people feel defeated too, because they go, well, I don't have that. And it's like, well, wait a second, what they're portraying isn't necessarily what they have.
Right.
And
because I go through that too. I'm like, oh, should we post something, Father's Day, your birth, like,
Right.
Okay. But I feel like we're doing that. Not that you shouldn't post, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. And don't feel condemned if you make great posts on Facebook and social media. Right. I'm not saying to feel that way.
Right.
But I don't know. We're lacking it. And you and I are not perfect.
No.
We're not. And we're showing people what we've come through and where we're at with all this stuff. And, somebody just asked too, like, what would I say is the biggest challenge in marriage is communicate with. Would you and Melissa say the biggest challenge in marriage is communication? And yes, because within all of this, what we're talking about, even growing to be a mother and fathering and all this stuff is honesty. And getting to the point where you're okay with honesty and having honest conversations about things. Because there are times where I'm not the best mother. I haven't been the best mother over the years because I didn't know how to do certain things, and you've been there to encourage me and vice versa, And
I think that I feel the same coming in as a father. You just don't know what you're doing. And I think what helped is that I admitted right at the jump, I have no idea what I'm doing, God, and I asked for your help. So that made my antennas open to other. I paid attention to other marriages. Like I want to see what you're doing. I want to see. So even in church work, I would pay attention to people in my church that seem like, okay, you guys seem like you still like each other after a long time. What are some things you do? I'd hang around and spend time with them, but then. I did find in ministry, there were so many people that were just super driven to like just get their platform going, get their message out there. Yeah. And we were kind of like, yeah, I hear you on that. But we want to have a great marriage. And there's a lot of trade-offs. There's a lot of decisions where you go, yeah, I don't want to do that because this is more of a priority. And it made me less impressed with polished platforms. Because behind polished platforms, there's a lot of struggle, and when I don't see a sense of like just admitting to the authenticity that this is a journey and there's a lot to work through, it's frustrating. It's been, and so we feel like we've been like for a long time, like who are the people, like who's like really working at this, right? And then in that emptiness, kind of like, okay, we're just gonna have to do some heavy duty learning, and let's do our best to be to others what we wish we would have had. And I feel like that's kind of been my journey. It's like try to be for other people what I wish that I had received. And so
because we need better examples. We need people out there being real great examples of husband, wives, spiritual parents in the church that you can look to and admire. Because there's a thing too now where it's like this false is it a false humility? Is that the best term of where people are like, yeah, we love, I'm honest and I like to share and we're saying all these things, but it's not really true. right? Because
Yeah.
then when you get into a lot of people's lives too, there's some bananas things going on.
Sure.
It's Bananarama out there, people. Okay. Like, I'm sure you guys see stuff on social media, people that are held up in high regards, and you're finding out what's going on behind the scenes, and you're like, hold up.
Right.
No.
And this isn't a call to say, well, people need to be perfect. It doesn't matter, because we all have, to use your term, we all have banana stuff that we have to work through. Especially if you have OCD issues, there's enough bananas in that crop to have enough to work through, right? But it's the imagery of presenting that there isn't any of that. Or just kind of like you just have all the right answers. You just have everything just looks right and just looks polished, and we fed that into Christian TV, and then now social media is like kind of another layer of that. But anyways, feel free to continue your thought. But I was just there's a couple things I want to share with people. Is that number one? I'm always mindful, even when pastoring. I felt I was mindful of people that Mother's Day is actually very difficult. Very difficult. You have a narcissistic mother. You have a mother who's an addict. You have a mother who's abusive. You have a mother who's harsh. Mm-hmm. And so this day brings up an extra dose of guilt, because you're like, oh, I need to
honor my mother.
Yeah, I've put a boundary up, and so I've had to work through some healings. I've had to put a boundary up, and then this ache rises up and this guilt kicks up. And I just want to encourage people to know, I sympathize with you. It's tough, it's challenging, and stay on your healing journey. And it doesn't necessarily mean dishonoring if you have to have a boundary.
Right.
Yeah. And so
and you don't have to go overboard, and you can just interact just simply too. You don't have to overdo, and you're not the fixer to your mother either. You're not. Yeah. You don't have to pump her up and make her feel amazing. You can just simply say Happy Mother's Day. Yeah.
I heard a pastor say, in regard to Mother's Day, well, in life, I know the one person who loves me no matter what is my mother. Mm-hmm. And not a lot of people can say that. Not a lot of people can actually identify with that. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, if push comes to shove, my mom's not going to step up when I need emotional connection. There's a lot of people that have gone through that and feel that.
Or make it about herself, or
So anyways, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate you have always had a heart to keep learning, to be receptive. You talk a lot about how much you appreciate me, and that encouragement always means a lot to me. However, it's a journey that I haven't. It's not like there's no picture of me like trying to drag you into stages of
that's true. You don't
of this, right? Now you have your own way of learning. You have your own way of processing. You have your own way of how you work through things. We're not twins in that area. But that's beautiful, because you're you, and I'm who I am, and I just really appreciate the learning journey. And so
thank you, babe.
This weekend, I feel that you just pray an extra dose of that. So give Melissa a little shout out.
Thank you, everybody,
in the comments.
Thank you, babe,
because you need encouragement. We all need encouragement. We're starving for encouragement. It's nice to know those things. So,
awesome.
Do you want to say hello to everybody in?
Of course, I do.
The chat. All right, go for it.
Certainly. Let me go over to Rumble. Hello, Rumble, and welcome to everybody watching on Rumble. Lynn and Janata, I can't wait to hear about your vacation. RRB, hello and welcome. Let me go up here in the YouTuber. Oh, why is it not moving? Hold on, everybody. Nessa's Life, hello and welcome. Banron, hello. Allison, Dave Jenkins, what is going on, sir? Why is my YouTube hold on, I gotta refresh. Sorry, everybody.
Refresh.
Okay. So I don't know where it went to. Alexandria, Allison, Marty, Rocks, NC Prepper, hello. HS Pearl, Samuel, hello. Let's go down here. Luke Braganza, hello, sir. Melanie Velma, David Morgan, hello. Linny, love you, girl. Marty, Joshua Miller, Estelle, lovely Estelle. Let's go down here. I hope no one hears static. I have static in my ears. KM, Robert, hello. Pearl, Vivette, hello. Augustin, Karina, hello. Let's go down here. Ooh, it just jumped. Zachary Coffee, hello, sir. Denise, Heather Van Allen, hello. Kelly, Jessica, KM, I don't know. I think I'm repeating names. I might have gotten everybody. And if I missed you, Private, hello. If I missed you, I'm sorry I missed you. And Sovereign, hello. Let's see. Yeah, I think I got everybody, babe.
Wow, that was quick.
Well, because it jumped, so
refresh.
I know, right? Yeah, it's I had to refresh. Let's play the music out.
I'll be your background singers. Sometimes we gotta refresh. Yes, we do.
So welcome. If I missed you, I'm sorry I missed you. And for all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day.
Yes. All right.
Oh, so, Abby Ploop. Hello, Abby Ploop.
All right. Mm-hmm. Good thing the good thing the L's in there. Otherwise, All right. So.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I just got what you said.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's okay. Sometimes I'm a little slow.
We're on a time delay.
That's all right.
So I'm going to get into some questions, y'all. How about that? And I'll take some time. I got a bunch here. I'd like to get through them. And kind of refresh this pile here a bit. And next week, get into some more, maybe some newer ones, some fresher ones. So if you submitted a question and you don't hear it today, there is a possibility that I've already covered it. It's a very expansive counseling thing you've given me that would take too much to unwind, or I've covered it. So those are usually the options. But please do me a favor, and even in this live, go to the link in the description, get a copy of The Myth of the Perfect One. Even if this isn't your battleground, it'd be a helpful insight for you to know and understand. And even those of you that are married, this could deepen your walk and relationship with your spouse. And I think because it's a call to growing in the power of unconditional love, growing in the power of what it means to love, to see in your life through the power of decision what it can look like, to walk a refreshing journey, a healing and freedom journey in that. So anyways, my lovely bride will keep an eye on the chat arena for any questions that come up for those of you that are participating in this. Of course, you can always go to markdesus.com/questions to send them in. However, when you do, and we wrote it on that page, that please be sure to check and use your search engine, search through YouTube, search my website to see if I've covered it already before, because odds are I have. But I'm always open to considering nuances and new ways of addressing questions as well, too. Okay, so this one is in the arena of, this is a question from a sister who's got a fiance, which I pray that I can continue to be a help to your life and your journey. And she's asking, is it all right for me to move in with my fiance before marriage? Hi, Mark. I hope you and Melissa are doing well. I wanted to ask you, I've been dating a guy for 5 months now. We are connecting very well. We enjoy each other's company, maturing together relationally. We've been talking about getting married very soon. We do come from very different spiritual backgrounds. I'm a Christian and he is Orthodox. I'd be curious about what that looks like, what kind of Christian, and how long has he been Orthodox? He believes in Jesus as his Lord and Savior. He prays. And he also has been attending my Christian church with me. So does that mean he's leaving his church, that pathway of faith? He's leaving Orthodox and he's coming to your church. Is he in alignment with the values that your church stands strong and rooted in? So anyways, we've discussed what a future would like having a family and children in regards to raising them in church. We both agree on raising children who love the Lord and godly character. In a community church, you wrote committee. I think you mean community, but that's okay if you meant committee. A committee church. This is the committee church.
I'd love to be a part of that church. I'd be the head of that committee.
We have chosen to not be sexually active and wait till marriage, but recently he asked me to move in with him when we get engaged. I don't agree with moving in unless we're married, but he believes it's okay and that we will be able to make it work. I'm confused about this decision. I don't know how to feel and if it would be the right decision to make. Any thoughts on this? God bless you and your family. Yeah, I agree with you. I would not recommend that step. There are steps and sequences in getting married that are very important. There's also wonderful blessings within marriage that are very important to understand, that God has blessed the covenant of marriage. sex being one of the big ones that is a blessing within marriage. There's also a number of things too besides sex that are wonderful blessings in marriage, and that is living together, sharing life together, making decisions together, and just overall the enjoyment of that kind of connection. And so when you bring those blessings of marriage before marriage, you start bringing in the things that are meant to be within the confines of marriage. And so then you start kind of playing marriage, and I'm sorry, you're going to end up sleeping together, having sex. So why are we even dodging around that? That's just the truth. But I also think there's an aspect of playing house before house that you want to save that. You mentioned raising your children in the faith, and wouldn't it be great to have a good story to tell your children of things that you waited for, that that feeling of being engaged, and you go out and then you go, all right, man, I miss you and I really want to just stay, but you know what, I'm going to go home, right? And that ability to practice that self-control and delaying that gratification to marriage. And we live in a society that does not know how to delay gratification. We want it now. And we're living in a cultural hypnosis of you don't even need to get married, and you just move in together, you kind of do whatever you want. So that hypnosis is just constantly hitting the airwaves. It's implied in every TV show and every movie and pieces of literature, and it's chipping away at the beauty of the covenant of marriage. And just like our walk with Christ, you make a decision to follow him, and there's wonderful blessings in it. However, don't expect the blessings without making that decision to follow him, right? But there's, if somebody's like, well, I'm a child of God, but they haven't made a decision to follow Christ, they're trying to take the blessing of it without making the decision to follow him. And so it's the same in marriage. You make the decision, you make the covenant, and there's wonderful blessings that come out of that. So I'd encourage you, have some conversations, and if my feedback isn't enough, go get some pastoral counseling. Get feedback, especially because he's coming from a different kind of church. I don't know what church you go to, but have some conversations about what exactly does the faith look like. And premarital counseling, especially in engagement, can bring up a lot of these issues where you have those tough conversations. And don't be afraid of this, folks. Don't be afraid of having tough conversations. We avoid them because if you're an avoider of conversations, you're going to be an avoider when you're married. And you're going to have all these don't go there kind of subjects, and build the foundation on, you know what, we're going to work through it. We're going to manifest the fruit of the Spirit, even when stuff gets us upset, and we're going to find ways to resolve that. And I found even way back when I did a lot of marriages, and at the large church I worked at in Connecticut, there was a lot of people getting married, premarital counseling. So I was either singing at a wedding or performing a wedding, presiding as a minister over the wedding. And so there's a lot of premarital counseling, a lot of that. And there was two things that I recognize. One is the engagement period of time is where everything gets heightened. The pressures get heightened. And it's okay. You're learning now how to make real decisions, work with each other, communicate. Two, I don't think we do enough after marriage counseling. We do premarital. And I would talk to a lot of these couples and be like, make a commitment that we're going to do a series of counseling work after you're married, because that's when it's really applicable. That's why, even to use the analogy of following Jesus, he's like, just drop your nets and follow me. Just follow me. And in the journey, then that's where we're going to, because now the connection's made, and in connection, we're going to work through what we need to work through. So that's my feedback to you on that. This is a question about public speaking and social anxiousness. It kind of goes into two pathways. One is, Mark, I heard in one of your videos tell the story about you having to speak in church and thinking about it all day, every day for a month straight beforehand. Yeah, even more than that. Like if you told me 6 months from now you're going to be speaking at this thing, yeah, I would obsess about it. Well, for many years, I didn't know that's what it was. I just thought I had a weird anxiousness. So I would jump through a lot of hoops. I would do this and do that to try to make myself feel better. I would, cry before God and pray and pray and pray, and nothing wrong with that. But that would just make it worse because not the prayer, but I was so pressurized, just living under constant pressure. because my identity was based on how well I would speak. And there was a problem because nothing against what the people said, but they would applaud. Oh, that was such a great message, great sermon. So that told my brain, they didn't do anything wrong. But the way I heard it was, you better keep living in that pressure. And so my identity was so built on that. And when you're in some kind of functioning capacity, people relate to you out of that. So the majority of people relate to me as Pastor Mark, or as Mark teacher guy, or Mark mental health guy, or whatever. That's primarily how people relate. I have to be aware on a regular basis, and it's been a long journey. That's not who I am. I'm learning to flow out of who I am in that. So how did I deal with public speaking? How do I continue to deal with that? Because the things I practice are things I still put into practice, even with creating content, doing live broadcasts here as well too, is you just need a lot of practice. And when I pastored a small church, and it was my responsibility to do the primary teaching, week after week after week after week after week of speaking, it just gave me a lot of practice to work through those phobic, obsessive patterns. But I did struggle a lot too with feeling like the pressure of the world was on my shoulders. I think we put too much pressure for a church sermon presentation to be done. I think there's too much on that. We all kind of gather and listen to prolific speakers, and they're great, and I appreciate them. But I think there's way too much weight put on that. And I fell under that weight. But I think that it's important for everybody to have an aspect of working through public speaking, whether it's preaching, giving a presentation, running a business meeting, running a small meeting, sitting down with your family and saying, hey, I want to share something, I want to talk, those kind of things. I think everybody needs practice on that, because it's the number one fear. It's the top fear, is speaking in front of people. Even how many of you, if you're in a small group and you're new to the group and they say, hey, we're going to go around, we're going to introduce ourselves, is that like sense of like, kind of rise up within you? Well, welcome, you're in good company, because that's the majority. That's the biggest fear that people struggle with. So it takes practice. It takes practice, and you being kind to yourself that you took an attempt versus critiquing it so badly that then you dread ever doing it again. And it's so the social anxiety is the same thing too. And I'm telling my brothers and sisters over and over again, you got to get out there and you got to practice relationship interaction. You got to, because we live in a time period where you can isolate. It's one of the easiest ways we can isolate, but yet feel like maybe we're connected, because we do some things online, or we read things online. We feel like we're connecting, or we're watching somebody speaking in a video. We feel like we're connecting. We need that time where we're able to express ourselves in other relationships, to be ourselves. So in social interactions, this is what I want. If I'm interacting with somebody just socially, not in a function where I'm coaching or teaching something, we're just interacting. I want to see, can you handle me just being me? Because that's what I want to practice the most, right? And even in this, I'm myself. I do the church lady. I make jokes. Some people don't like the jokes. It's fine. It's just how I'm wired. It makes this enjoyable. It's the thread by which I love doing what I'm doing. I love that there's a casual aspect to this. It's not super professional. However, we talk through very, very difficult issues and battles. It's a mixture of me learning who I am. And that's what I've been practicing. I've been practicing learning who I am through practice, not figuring it out, then doing it like some people think. If I just knew who I was, practice who you are and keep learning in the process. And if we could be brothers and sisters that would encourage that, and get around, hey, when you give that presentation today, don't worry about the pressure. We're behind you. It's going to be great, right? So that we're encouraging that. Take a step and be yourself. So anyways, you said the same with relationships. I struggle to let people in for the same reasons. I feel a need to perform and be perfect, causing me to want to avoid close relationships. So there's your avoidance. So you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight against that grain, and you're going to have to make a decision. I'm going to make room for relationships. And this is not about me being perfect. This is going to take some intentional work. And the thing I desire close relationships, just don't know how to stop performing and being myself. Part of it is just letting your flawed self, in the sense that you don't have the perfect answers, you don't say everything perfect, that gives room for you to work through this. I desire to have a close relationship with a girl, but feel a need to say all the right things and perform for her rather than just being myself. I guess I'm a perfectionist and want to be perfect in image. I experience a lot of ups and downs with this. It affects my relationship with God. When I am very social and loving on other people and performing well, I feel love from God. When I don't, I feel no love from him, and I can often find myself in depression. Yeah, be aware of that trap. The trap is you speak well and do well. Oh, God loves me. Beware of that trap, because then when it's not there, he loves me not. I had to learn when I gave talks or even met with people, and I didn't feel like it was amazing. I needed to appreciate the beauty of just mundane interactions, mundane teachings, mundane, even when I got into presenting videos and it wasn't a home run and people didn't get it or whatever, to appreciate that versus we're trained to like, it's got to be over the top. You are a very intense perfectionist for sure. And you're going to have to make a decision that I'm going to have to work through how I live, because perfectionists are always putting their best face forward, so to speak, but it's driven out of fear because they don't want anyone to see anything else. They don't want them to see their flaws. So you said, I played sports all through high school, first 2 years of college, and I think the go out and earn everything mindset is ingrained in my DNA. I've listened to a lot of your content, so I know the solution I need is to live from God's love and not for it, and learn to receive it, but I'm having trouble receiving it. Yeah, it's going to take practice because you've lived this long not receiving it. They just do, serve, go. So this is going to take some time to learn. I've read about 3/4 of the rejection mindset. I'm about to start God loves me and I love myself. This anxiety performance is ruining my relationship. It's a real block in the road for what I can do for the kingdom. Okay, I get you, but don't put this big heavy stamp of this is going to ruin everything. It's also keeping me from connecting to friends, women, and God as well. I just want to love people deeply. I have a deep desire to do so, but have always felt like I really don't have anything to give. I've got a lot more to say, man. Really love your content. Really want to help spread your content as well. Yeah. Well, you are a textbook Christian perfectionist. So that's what you got going on. And so you're going to have to make room for appreciating your flaws, your goofiness, as well as that in others, and appreciate having interactions that are you just being you. And you need to practice it in all kinds of settings. So I will do one more, and then we'll check on questions that are coming in and maybe take a dance break. This one's on loving your neighbors. What does this actually look like practically? As someone coming out of religious mindsets around church, I've started to take more notice of my neighbors and friends. I find this statement interesting. Let me read it again. As someone coming out of religious mindsets around church, I've started to take more notice of my neighbors and friends. It is a very interesting thing that if you take a break from your kind of church routine, or you step back from your church service or something like that, it is interesting how some people, not all, but some people notice, they just start noticing relationships more. It's like, because in our church mode, it's like everything is around church, what the next meeting is, what the next thing is. So when we talk to people, you're like, hey, want to come to this thing, want to come to this thing? And that's pretty much what I lived in for a long time, was this kind of bubble that I lived in. It wasn't a real world life. It was kind of just this thing that you're in. And then when I took a step back, like when I left the first church I worked at, I started to pay attention more to my actual literal neighbors, meaning people that lived next to me, lived in a condo, and the people in the other units. And I started to slow down a little bit more when I'd go to my car, just notice and have a conversation. Started to just be more aware and even prayerful, like something somebody need. And so anyways, I find it interesting in your statement there that as you're coming out of some mindsets, which I'm sure a lot of performance and all that kind of stuff, you're like getting back to just organic relationship. And that is the fundamental of what Jesus talked about. He says, love your neighbor as yourself. It's like, just have a mindset of just awareness of them with a heart of love. And it's not a forcing thing. It's not a pressuring thing. It's just an awareness. And if there's an opportunity to be able to demonstrate that love, then by all means, take it. How can we be a loving voice and minister to them without overdoing it or turning them off? I try to be sensitive to that and relax into relationship. Yeah, I think where you're headed, where your compass is pointing, is just more about being in relationship. I think Christians have worn out this like heavy evangelistic, got to tell them about Jesus, got to overtly put my spiritual practices to them, and we minimize the beauty of just loving people, of just, first of all, just having a kind, reasonable interaction. Because many of us in our journey, all of us really, need just good social interactions. We need that. It's good for your mental health, but it's also the way God shows up. We super spiritualize evangelizing, telling people they need Jesus. You know, in town on Saturdays here where I live, they got these people with these big signs, and sometimes it's a mixture. They're like, "Jesus saves. Do you know him?" You know, and sometimes it's got the church ladies a bit more in it. You know.
Do you know where you're gonna go?
And we've worn out that kind of approach. And I actually think it's a form of obsessive compulsiveness, that like when we're around people, I got to tell you about Jesus. I got to tell you about Jesus. I got to get you through the sinner's prayer. I got to get you through the sinner's prayer. There we go. Sit down. We got to say this prayer. Yes, we got the prayer. Hey, he said it. He said it. And that's not producing great fruit. And so I encourage everyone, when you step out to your car or wherever you are, just look around. And just look at your neighbors and say, God, I pray blessing for my neighbors. I pray blessing on them financially. I pray blessing on them relationally. And if I can be an encouragement, open the door. And if there's something you're led to do, just in blessing them. I go for daily walks in my neighborhood. Some neighbors are easy to like. Some are not so easy to like, right? It's just is what it is. We all have that. But I try to, when I walk through the neighborhood, I'm like, all right, I'm here in this neighborhood. I'm gonna pray blessing, and so I it's not this obsessive thing. It's not this thing I have to do, but I try to keep a mindset of God. Just let them know your love, and if I can be a vessel and a conduit, I'm open to that. But I am just not into a lot of the things that we shove and we push. I really believe the Holy Spirit is doing a work, and God is doing a work. And I want to do my best to be mindful and open. And if I can bless financially, if I can go over and help you move something, or you got furniture you're getting out and I'd be a help and you can call on me in that, or if there's something else I can do, I'm going to do that. But I think everyone get back to the fundamentals of just what does love look like? And so if you have neighbors that irritate you, can't stand them, okay, and you've had to put up a boundary, fine, whatever. And just say, God, help me, though, to keep a compassionate mindset, though. Even if you've had to deal with some conflict or some stuff. I've had a lot of people write into me, or even in session work, like, I got this neighbor and I don't know what to do, right? And it's like you make the decisions you need to make to have healthy boundaries. But you could still go, God, even if they're an enemy, God, help me to have a mindset where I am blessing. Bless them, God. Bless them. I know they irritate me, but bless them. And so it allows our heart to stay in a healthy place where we're not getting so contaminated. That's my feedback to that, because I think that we undervalue that. We don't see that as spiritual. Unless we pray with somebody or tell them about Jesus, we don't think it's spiritual. And I just think that's just not true. It's not true, because all throughout the scriptures, it talks about the power of loving people. Anyway, this question's about the LGBTQ community, relating to them. So this lady wrote, Mark, how should a Christian respond to those that are I think you mean LGBTQ. I don't know. Now I'm getting lost in your abbreviations. You all know what I mean. When I was watching a TV show or even a game show, when there are people on that are obviously part of that community and want to tell the whole world about it, I find myself just really turned off, and I will literally turn to another station. I got to be honest, I do the same thing. And not just because of the representation of it, but because of the evangelistic nature. It is something that's being overtly promoted in in so much content, so much material. So anyways, you say, I know we are supposed to love others. So why am I turned off by how they present themselves to the world? So what you're being interpreted by, and this is the world's switch of love. I've done this for a long time. The world's lie, and this is the world system, by the way, going back to my 1 John teaching. We're like, what's worldly? The world system perpetuates, promotes this lie. It's very subtle, but it infects everything. If you disagree with my values, then you are unloving. You are hateful. So if I feel that your lifestyle is sinful, the equation equals hate, unloving. No, I can maintain a posture of love while seeing a lifestyle as sinful, wrong, and not a part of my values, and still retain love. So don't let the system do a bait and switch on you and call you unloving because you stand. Now, we can disagree, and we can also move into very unloving, condemning, hateful, kind of ways of operating. Certainly, that can be a part of it. But don't let the lies tell you that you're anti-love or you're unloving because you hold to biblical standards of marriage, of sexuality, of identity, of even just healthy relationship patterns. Do not let that be something that drives your decision making. So if I was watching the show with you too, I'd be like, oh, come on, here we go again. Because you can see the propaganda of it in so many things. And I have the same thing when I'm watching shows with our kids, and they will see me go, oh, Melissa and I both, oh, here we go. You can just see it kind of weaved in because they're going to grow up knowing where we stand. However, we can maintain a heart of compassion, maintain a heart of grace within it, and be civil, and be able to be civil. But I think you wanted to jump in and say something.
We just talked about this a couple weeks ago when I had, at the art class.
Oh, you're right.
With like evolution and, all the things. Like we have to be loving and kind and,
yeah.
But you're right. It becomes a propaganda thing.
Yeah. And in what I'm noticing in the world system, and maybe I'm being too extreme about this, what I notice in the world system, we as Christians are doing everything we can to maintain our state of love in the midst of at times a free fall of value systems shifting and changing.
Right.
Meanwhile, and so we kind of we don't push hard or get into a lot of strife and stuff. Meanwhile, they're very aggressive with their values. Right. And we'll start arguments when it's like, listen, I didn't come here for that. I came here to learn how to basket weave or whatever it is. Or I can't.
Right. We just came here to do art. We don't need to have conversations about political and whatever. Yeah. And it's just in your face. This just made me think of it too. And I am not a promoter of these two people, but we were having a conversation with Abby of where it's become so overt where we have to literally bow down to that community and elevate them. We were, whatever it was, I think it was the Tony, one of the things where they had, it was Ariana Grande and the other lady, what's her name? Cynthia Erivo or something, who were in Wicked. And they came on to do a performance because the movie had come out. Well, Ariana Grande comes out and she's singing and she has to back off the stage and bow down to Cynthia Erivo. It's like it's so weird how we have to, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but Ariana Grande can sing way better than this chick. It's just my opinion. And we have to do this thing it's like this intentional thing of we have to bow to, and I feel it's the LGBT community of letting them be, you're the better singer, you're the better performer. We have to do this now where we put it out there that they're so much better than us, and we have to do this gushing love thing on them.
Yeah, we have to do it. We have a lot of conversations in our home about these things because it's woven within
it's infectious.
The context of culture. And I I never had. Well, I had a couple conversations with my parents, but that's about it. We didn't have much conversations about these. Well, that's a whole different subject itself. But hey, Dad, how's it going? And but the thing being is that there's this very awkward kind of situation you put in where it's pushed into your relational field, and you're like forced to respond to it.
Right.
And then if you disagree, hate gets put on you as a label. So my main thing is like you don't have to come under condemnation of that label. And if you're truly acting in unloving, unreasonable, harsh ways, then deal with that. Deal with that in general. If you got a church lady in you, deal with that. But it's not unloving if your value system's different.
Right. And that's the thing that I maintained when we were even in the classroom. It's like I can stay in a place of complete compassion and love. I don't have to argue with you.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think that's very empowering in knowing that I don't have to debate.
I don't feel like I have to put my opinion. Well, really, this is what,
Yep.
Yeah.
Super chat land. Questions, comments, anything in there that you want?
There is no super chat land. However, I apologize. There is a gentleman, David, who posted a question in the beginning. And I told him if no chats came in that I would have it. Now, David, unfortunately, sir, he did email. I told him to email it in if we didn't get to it because it was like multiple parts. But the gist of it, if you want to look at it, David Morgan, he was dating a girl for a while. If you want to read it, go ahead.
Yeah, David, you actually submitted it, and I addressed it in the community this Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I addressed it. So if you go in the recordings there, we did our Zoom.
Okay, awesome, perfect.
Yeah, we did our Zoom gathering on Thursday.
There we go.
So go ahead.
There you go, David.
Go ahead and check that out.
Even better.
All right, let me take a dance break, and we'll get back
Awesome,
in
boo.
just a second. People like the 80s one.
They do.
Which
Who
one
doesn't love 80s music?
I think it's this. No, it's not.
Nope.
That one.
There we go.
There we go. Sorry. All right. For those of you that like the 80s style music, there you go. I'm going to continue a little bit on that vein of where we were going, although it's going to go in a different direction. This has to do with OCD and sexual orientation and how that is causing some spin outs. Mark, I really, in all caps, appreciate if you answer my question. My heart is so heavy every day. I'm extremely worried. I have OCD and I've struggled with many themes, but one of the hardest to beat has been sexual orientation OCD. Just so you know, whatever OCD you have is the toughest to beat. Just so you know, it's because OCD is challenging. So whatever theme you have, you're going to think that theme is the worst. And the area of sex and sexuality is one of the top areas. Why? Because it's of important value, especially us as Christians. We have value for purity, for holiness, and how we handle sexuality. But when you have OCD, what you value gets flipped, and it makes you think that you want the opposite. So just like if you have harm thoughts, you think you want to murder your family, or if you have, whatever. It always takes the high stakes scenarios and flips them. So everything you wrote, I was looking at this just while the music was playing, and everything you state here is the world of OCD. Now, I'm going to read through what you shared, and I'll comment on it, but everything you're talking about here is how this battleground works. That is because, the reason it's the hardest is because it's multi-layered. I can remember many times from my early teen years, 15 or so, when I first encountered people who identified themselves as something other than straight. I knew that it was a thing before, but that I never questioned it. But then one day I did, and had a theme for a long time, questioning back and forth if I was bisexual, because I kept noticing pretty girls. I'm a girl. Prior to that, I'd always liked boys, but now having this theme for so long, I fear I'm in denial because of my past thoughts. And then I keep getting a feeling that I am bi or want to be, and it makes me sad because then I get so confused. By the way, this is the world of OCD. You're chasing your feelings, and I'll get to more of a bigger reply to this overall as I move along. But you write, and then I keep getting this feeling I'm bi, or makes me want sad because I get so confused. I've always believed the Bible's word about marriage and one man, one woman. But I also know that many nice, faithful Christians do struggle with their sexuality and have feelings that don't align with the Bible and just choose not to act on them. I would say everybody has thoughts that don't align with the Bible. Everyone has thoughts and things that come their way as far as sexuality or urges or feelings. One of our biggest discipleship area is learning how to manage our emotions, how to manage how we feel. One of the big problems with OCD is you get taken for a roller coaster ride with where the emotions take you. And this is a big part of Christian healing and discipleship, mental health, you name it. So, and then I worry because I have family members who are Christian, but have made jokes or said not so nice things about gay people in the past. And while they have apologized, I then use that as proof that I'm in denial because of what they would think. Yeah, all of your observations and experiences are being used as verification that you need to listen to these thoughts and do something about them, which is what OCD does. If you have ROCD, all thoughts and experiences go back to I'm with the wrong person. If you have salvation OCD, all your interactions in church and reading your Bible and prayer and feeling and not so right feeling leads back to the same thing, that you're not saved. So with you, it's all going back to some type of sense of questioning your sexuality, because if you read your words here, it's primarily based on how you're feeling in the moment. And that's not a good guide for developing our framework for life. You will have all kinds of feelings, thoughts, emotions, temptations, whatever you want to call it, arrive along your journey. And just because so I know where you're going with this. Is this OCD, or am I really in the wrong sexual attraction world? Either way. I'm just going to entertain this for a second, because you're very OCD. You're over talking, overthinking this, and you've got a lot of yeah, but this, yeah, but that you're using as as evidence to your toxic interpreter. But I'll just entertain this for a second. Even if you weren't OCD and you're having these thoughts, that's still not who you are. And I think that there's something in mental health that we all need to learn, that we are not. Our identity is not the thoughts that have approached us. Our identity is not the thoughts that pass by. Because I'm telling you this right now, if I flowed with thoughts that just arrived to me, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I'd be in a whole different path if I got sucked into whatever emotional turmoil came my way. So I'll, in jumping into your dilemma here, where you're very OCD, but even if it's not OCD, it's still not who you are. Either way, it's still not who you are. OCD, it's not who you are. If it's like, oh, maybe I want it, it's still not who you are. But that's what OCDers do. Maybe I do want it. With all that, my brother and his wife go to an affirming church, and I start to wonder if I struggled with this sin, would they tell me to act on it? Would I be confused? Would I cave? Yeah, your interpreter is taking things way out into all kinds of paths. Why does it feel like? So even you put in capital letters, feel like. Because, sister, this world is filled with distortions. And look at number 7, the difficulty with emotions, because they pull at you. Guilt, confusion, anxiety, they come really strong. And then your thoughts start to get aligned that maybe this means something. So would I struggle with this sin? Would they tell me, would I be confused? Would I cave? What does it feel like? It feels like maybe I actually want it, but I'm just afraid, and that really scares me. I don't know what's going. What's ATP? What does that stand for? ATP and.
I need to look it up.
No, that's all right. But I would just like some peace. It feels like, however, I can never have peace again. Because there will always be things that make me question, because my family may say something. I may see something online. My brother may say something. I have an affirming relative and may have another feeling, maybe bisexual feeling. I can't accept myself. Please, any insight would be appreciated. I'm starting to feel like this isn't OCD at all.
So, babe, ATP is the source of energy for use and storage. At
No. No, I meant like as an abbreviation. It's like an abbreviation for something.
Oh, I didn't listen to the sentence.
No, it's all right. You were in the comment section. It's fine.
Well, sir,
fine.
I was a little busy. I just looked up what is ATP. Well, maybe you could. Your energy, you have no energy.
That is awesome. No, because
I have problems with my ATP, my energy. Okay?
Yeah, I have problems with abbreviations, remembering what they mean.
Listen, sir.
Although the ATP, I put it in. I got the Association of Tennis Professionals.
See,
so that's so maybe she plays
at this point. At this point.
See, told you.
Thank you, Private.
Told
Seriously,
Told you.
Abby keeps calling us boomers.
We get called. Yeah. She's like, you're being a boomer right now.
She's
Dad.
basically telling us we're old, and it's not cute. Okay.
So.
That is so funny.
So anyway, I think I finished my thought on that, but we do. Okay, let me take a step back, because it might be helpful for you to check out the Q&A I did on sex and sex related questions. I'm considering doing another one at some point soon, but I talk about the factors that affect how we relate, because you say in there's multi-layered facets and factors to how you relate to sex and sexuality. Everybody has a journey of working through multiple layered factors in that. So anyway, but that's what OCD looks like. But even so, you're afraid of the thought, and you have to work through what that means. So I encourage you to get the OCD healing journey. I'll talk about Harm OCD here and there, but I'll address it here again. Hey, Mark, recently my therapist left the practice to another field, and I'm really struggling. I wonder what the therapist left for. They're like, I'm sick of it. I can't do this anymore. For 2 years now, I've been avoiding cooking because I'm scared I'll accidentally put something in there and not remember it, or have intrusive thought while making food, and somehow it'll be contaminated by the thought. It's also been mixed with scrupulosity, like if I use this spice, my husband is going to hell. That's an interesting interpretation. that means that Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and Indians and Jamaicans are gonna have a hard time if putting spice in food means somebody's gonna go to hell.
Wow, that's an interesting one. That's a new one.
I was struggling with knowing if I accidentally put bleach in my food and didn't remember. I hate being around any chemicals. Can't bring a knife hiking with me. I've been struggling the past 2 years. I noticed this 10 years ago with magical thinking. I'd touch a doorknob. Okay, so here's my feedback to you on this. I'm going to give you just let me get to the point. Is that you spent 2 years in avoidance. So you avoided cooking. So the obsession grew stronger. At first, you feel like you're kind of doing okay. You might feel some relief. But the topic becomes stronger and intimidating. So you're going to have to find a way on a regular basis to get back into cooking. And these thoughts are going to spike. And you're going to, oh my goodness, I'm going to do something. Oh, what if I? And you're going to have to work through this. And when the thought goes, yeah, what if you put bleach, which I doubt that that's an actual thing that has happened. But you're going to have to then, as you're cooking, you're going to have to leave it and move on, in the sense of leaving the thought and moving on and go, well, if there's something in it, then so be it. If I give my husband spice and he goes to hell, then I'll deal with that then. And I know for many at first it goes, oh my goodness, that sounds crazy. That's going to amplify my OCD. But it's learning how to react to the uncertainty and the what if that's spinning. Otherwise, you're going to be checking. It's spread into doorknobs. It's going to go into a whole lot of other areas. It'll keep spreading till you take a stand. And I encourage you to work through some of the protocols in dealing with OCD. I want to talk about some parenting stuff here, and some of it gets pretty heavy, but I think these are good things for us to talk through. This is about teaching my kids emotional intelligence. I'm homeschooling my kids. I'm seeing the struggle with teaching my kids emotional intelligence. I know spiritual maturity and emotional maturity are kissing cousins, so to speak. Yeah, it's kind of a strange analogy, but emotional maturity and spiritual maturity go hand in hand. We've lived for a long time where spiritual maturity was, you know a lot in the Bible, you have a lot of experience sharing about the Bible, talking, doing those kind of things, and we neglected emotional maturity. We didn't apply that historically. It's like, oh, Bible school and all these things. We attribute maturity with that. We need to get back to the fundamentals of that spiritual maturity is emotional maturity, the fruit of the Spirit that you know how to manifest and grow in, not that anyone's perfect and arrive, but to operate in love, joy, and peace, know how to operate in self-control, to be patient with people, to practice kindness. Those are not the metrics that we always looked at. And I think that we need to prioritize that, because we look at, oh, this person's a great speaker. They sing well. And we put very immature people into platforms. And then we wonder, oh my goodness, what's going on? This person had a falling out. This happened. And it's what we value. So anyways, I digress. Any resources would be amazing for younger readers. I know you don't make curriculum. Well, not necessarily. That's not necessarily true. What I do is I write books and then I create training materials on it in video. Because I'm a teacher, it helps me to expound on the material. So that's my curriculum. My books have prayers and questions in them. So I make my books already with some curriculum kind of things woven within them. Some people write the book and then they come out with a workbook later. So anyway, just to kind of let you know that. And I put that in my membership for people that want to make that kind of investment, where access to my course materials, and then you can jump in on Zoom Q&As, and there's forum interaction as well too. So keep that in mind as an option, because there's many parents that are in there looking for equipping too. I think a lot of times we go, I need a book. And I don't know that there's a perfect book out there that I could recommend. You said many of the Boundaries books are more outward focused. I want to see them in their own behavior. Okay, so I want to make this very practical for you as a parent, because you as the parent are the most powerful teacher and most powerful influence in your children's lives. I'm going to tell you 2 things to help emotional intelligence in your children. Okay. Actually, three. Can I give you three? Number one is develop a healthy bond with your children, because that's where everything, all learning comes out of first, the bond. You don't teach your children by teaching them, develop a bond with them. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is model emotional intelligence in your home. You and your husband model that in your life of sitting at the dinner table and you all share, how was your day? How are things going? And model learning how to listen to someone else's emotion, learning how you respond to it. So your kids grow up seeing that. Way more is caught than taught in the sense of them watching. They watch us. They watch how we handle stress. They watch how we handle conflict. So your kids seeing how you and your spouse handle conflict together, that they observe, yeah, mom and dad, they had disagreements or whatever, but they learned how to work it out. They learned how to resolve things. And it's modeled. When you have stress, and sometimes you get too upset or something, or you get into certain obsessive patterns, and they see you learning to work through it. So I see a lot of value in that right there. So we haven't even gotten to curriculum yet, and I actually won't get into that, because sometimes I think we overcomplicate things. I need a book, or we stick a book, in front of our kids, and that'll solve it. Okay, so the third thing. First was the bond. Second is modeling. Third, learn to have meaningful conversations. All families in your home, I want to encourage you, learn to have regular, either daily or just somewhat regular throughout the week, where you have times where you just talk. Let your kids talk about their day. Talk about how it made them feel. Start it as young as possible. Listen to them. Pay attention. Have times where you're not on your phones. No one's on their phones and you're just talking. Maybe around the couch, you're sitting on the couch, just hanging out, where it's not necessarily the TV on that becomes the like fill in to the interaction. The dinner table is one of the best places to do that, where it's a time of sharing and talking, where they learn to share their feelings and you help them walk through interpreting. Because emotional intelligence is, this is what I feel and this is what it means to me. And a lot of us in our mental health development, we need reinterpretation. We need help working through what we feel. Because somebody says, well, I was stressed, and in this test I took and the teacher was kind of harsh. You know what? I never do anything right. It's like, okay, hey, let's talk through that. Is that really true? You might be putting some blame on yourself in this. Let's talk through this, right? Because we make these equations. And so emotional intelligence is I'm aware of what's going on in my emotional life, but I'm also, to use some of my OCD language, I'm also interpreting it, because it's the meaning we give our thoughts that's actually important. The meaning that we attach to where we are in our journey. If I was to step into anybody's life and their struggle, I will find where the interpreter is off. They're interpreting something off. So therefore it's adding extra anxiety. It's adding extra depression. It's adding extra confusion. It's actually adding extra disconnect, a sense of disconnect in their journey. And so having times where they're able to name, I'm feeling this, and they can talk through it. They get some encouragement, and they learn to process emotions. To process an emotion is you're able to name what it is, what it means, address some goofy filters that you may have and how you're interpreting it, and letting that kind of wash through your body, where we're not feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. We're letting it work through, knowing that we're safe. And that compass gets developed at a young age. So you actually are the emotional intelligence curriculum in your home. Now, would it help to have a book that says what these emotions look like? Yeah, you could get a color wheel and emotions. You could put emotions up on your whiteboard, and each week just kind of go through a different emotion and ask your kids, okay, this week it's anger. What are some other words you use with angry? Frustrated, right? Or whatever. Stress, pressure creates a sense of anger. What do you do with anger in your life? What do you do when you feel that? What's a good way to work through that? Right there, boom, I just gave you your classes to teach them that for the rest of the year. And then just get a dictionary out, or get a emotion wheel and put the different emotions up there. And let it be a place of discussion. And at the dinner table, go, hey, so we were talking today about anger. So what are some of the things that make you angry? What makes you angry? And then you can find out like the themes in your household of certain themes that are triggers of anger. Because if you learn about somebody's anger, you actually learn a lot about who they are, and it'll help you get to the heart of what your kids battle and struggle with. What stresses you out? What gives you stress? And your kid's like, well, when I have a test coming up, oh, all right, let's talk about that. Now that's normal. It's normal to have some stress around those things, right? We're not taking every stressor away from our kids' lives, right? We're preparing them for adulthood. However, we can take the unnecessary added stresses. So I pray that will be a blessing and a help for you. Another parent says, hello, I have a friend who says her kids are in Bible school, but doesn't like that they have them memorize Bible verses. Because when the children feel bad, they teach them to remember a verse, which is spiritual bypassing. Okay, I hear what you're saying. I get that, but also feel kind of sad, discouraged that memorizing Bible verses is being looked down on in the name of spiritual bypassing in our culture. Thoughts? I don't think that it has to be, but there is a common Christian approach that if you have an unwanted thought or emotion, or you're struggling with an emotion, take a Bible verse, put it on it to then kind of push that emotion away. The problem is that it creates a poor relationship with our emotions. And from my observation, this is just my observation, a large percentage of the church Christian community has a poor relationship with their emotions. So you're sad, we throw a scripture at it. Or somebody else is sad and they tell you, and what do? You go to fixing it. If you jump to fixing somebody's emotion right away, then you're showing this kind of approach that we've just kind of been taught. Take a scripture, put it up against it, whereas we don't see that as an example through the whole Bible of the actual application through tough things. We see them working through it, learning how to, you feel an emotion, you don't have to feed it, but you can learn over time what this thing's triggering, be compassionate about it. You let it work its way through. It doesn't have to own you, even though you may feel it in your body. And so I think there's a shift where these are not opposing forces. Memorizing Bible scripture and working through emotions do not need to be in conflict, because there's lots of Bible scriptures that actually speak about working through. In fact, be angry. Don't sin. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath, nor give place to the devil, right? There's pathway, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Those are instructions on how to work through relationally, through the stuff that we're feeling and thinking. However, it's good they're getting spiritual on biblical memorization, because I do see a lot of biblical illiteracy today, where accessing scriptures and accessing that as a place of reference for your compass is lacking in a lot of church communities. So I think that memorization, especially in childhood, is good, because I have my bouts with memory at my age. And I'm like, where's this going? I have my bouts with memory, but I can remember sharply a lot of things I remembered as a kid. So the scripture memorization, song memorization, because a lot of songs, scriptures were put to songs. And that's how I remember them to this day. And they stay with me as I learn and get enhanced in what the scriptures mean. I've got a memory bank there. So I think it's good in childhood years to really get them in scripture memorization, because that they have something to draw from. But they're not exclusively apart from each other. I think that working through emotions and scripture need to be a part of the journey. But it's not, oh, you feel sad? Cast your cares. You know, it's that's church lady kind of stuff. One more, and I'll take a break. This is a sad question, but I want to give an answer. This is a mom trying to work through how to tell her I think it's her daughter, or maybe I think she has a bunch of kids, about how do you deal with telling them that their father committed suicide. So my heart goes out to you. Anyway. Hello, I'm a mother of 6. I have complex PTSD. I'm born again. I'm a widow after 23 years of marriage with a man who is struggling with addictions and ended his life. It happened 6 years ago. And my youngest She was 5 at the time. What exactly happened to him? She's struggling with a lot of fears, and sometimes she complains about her life and that she doesn't want to live like this. How to talk to her about what happened. I'm going through my healing and trying to be available for my kids all the time, but I often want to hide since it's hard to tell her that I can't change it. And also, maybe you can navigate me for getting counseling for me and for her. Well, counseling certainly is a helpful resource in this process, but I want to talk about your role as a parent. First of all, there's no quick answer to this. There's no easy answer to this. This is very, very painful when people experience this in their family. And it has a fallout and it has a trickle out in so many ways, in so many aspects of how it impacts the journey. Especially, we're talking, you're a mother of 6, but one of them, your youngest, was 5 at the time when their dad ended his life. And it sends a domino of pain, but she's not aware of it. Things like this that become very difficult subjects in the family. They need wisdom in the sense of timing. And this is where relationship in kind of knowing there isn't a perfect answer of when to share all the details and what that looked like and what happened. But you're already seeing signs of stuff she's struggling with, the anxiousness, the absence of a father's presence is very, very potent. Not to mention how his absence came about. And so you may feel a compulsivity to I need to talk about this now. You said it's 6 years ago, so she's now 11. I think there'll come a point in time as you grow in conversation. For very, very difficult subjects and issues, I would look at where I'm at with my child's maturity and how they handle things. So now this example is not related. I'm not trying to equate this, okay? Please. So do not take this as an equating. But as a simple example, I remember I grew up with a half brother, my half brother Tony. We have the same dad, different mothers. Okay, long story. But anyway, I just knew him as my brother growing up. But for some reason, when I was about 12, something clicked in my mind that I was like, wait, he don't look like me. It was kind of like, because my dad's Puerto Rican, but my brother Tony's a lot darker. And then over time, I was like, okay, there's something here. But it's funny how up until about 12, I think it was about 12. It might have been a different age, but I think it was around then, maybe 11, where I was kind of like, I had a conversation with my mom. I'm like, where'd Tony come from? And it just flowed out. We talked and she told me and explained, the history, what happened and so forth, and his mom and all that. And so it up until then, it didn't dawn on me in that way. And so I use that not to try to equate your situations. Very, very intense, very, very painful. But I want to encourage you as a mom to not feel the pressure of okay, we got to cover this now. Allow process and time and just be open and let God lead you in how you share the details and how you bring that out, and that it would be a fruitful exchange and a fruitful knowing. And there'll be more questions and more processing and more counseling and more work. And it's okay. It's okay, because this kind of loss is incredibly painful. And my heart goes out to you. My prayers go out to you. And I pray that what I shared can be encouragement for your journey. So I'm going to take a dance break, and then we'll be back and address some more questions. Let's get into some super chat land here. You said you got something that's...
Yeah, I got a couple things here. Hold on.
Yeah. Go ahead. Feel free. And then I'll see where I can get with some of these other ones.
Excellent.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll do a speed round.
Yay.
Cool. If that's even possible.
I know, that's true. Okay. Hello, Robert Walker, sir. Thank you for your super chat. Hi, Mark. Thank God for your ministry. Well, thank God for you, Robert. How do I balance therapy, IFS, CBT, inner child, etc., with the old man being crucified with Christ? I want to be led by the Holy Spirit, not my feelings.
Yeah, I think it's not. I don't see those two things in conflict with each other. There is a renewal in Christ Jesus that when you're born again, God starts you all over. So you got to relearn how to be a kid again. You grow up in the faith again, right? So you said the old man, mentioned that like from a scriptural basis, talk about the flesh. That's the old you aspect of that, right? We died to that. Baptism symbolizes that. So born again, God's going, I'm not going to build on the foundation of your parents I'm building on the foundation of Christ Jesus. But in order to do that, we got to go back. So the family systems concept, I find it to be helpful in that regard, in the sense of like, go back to, Jesus said, you want to enter into a kingdom. He put a kid on his lap and said, you got to enter in like this. So I got to go back to what it means to be a kid and just trust again. And a lot of us, that's what we're doing. We're going back to just learning what it means to be a kid and let that father imprint be developed in our lives. Right. So the concepts of that, I remember even reading in the ACA book, The Adult Children of Alcoholics. And again, I'm not equating that with the Bible or anything like that, but there's a statement.
There's good stuff in there.
There's a statement that he writes in there where he says, you're learning to reparent yourself, but the new parent is actually God. And I'm like, I know they get into the higher power, blah, 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 and all that. Okay, right. But the concept of most mental health is calling us to be reparented. Most of it, not all, but most of it. It's like learning to tend, like that whole thing I talked about parents and emotions and teaching your kids. Like we have to go back to that.
Yep.
Most of us, you might be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and you go, I got to go back to what it means to just those simple things. So that
is so good. We could, I feel like every podcast could be about that.
Yeah.
It's just part of the everythings.
Yeah.
Anyway, excellent, babe. Next from Private Ron.
Private Ron.
One thing I don't understand is to sit with the emotions. But if I sit with it, that means I'm letting it affect me. I can't do things I want to do, and it will take away the joy of the present moment.
Yeah, I push back on that interpretation. That sitting with it means that you are, what was the word he used?
Letting it affect me.
Letting it affect you. No, you're changing your relationship with the thought.
Yeah.
And so instead of negotiating with the terrorists, you're no longer feeding the terrorists anymore. And you're actually not feeding it. You're changing how you're responding to it. But at first, when we stop feeding the intrusive thoughts or these obsessive kind of tangents or whatever kind of thoughts are coming our way, there's some withdrawal symptoms of how we're used to reacting to thoughts that we tend to fall into. And that often kicks up. Does that make sense?
Very good, babe. One more from Joshua Miller. Thank you for your super chat, love offering, and happy Mother's Day. He has a question as well. I dabbled in porn and homosexuality for many years, and I desire marriage, but I feel grossly unclean. Any advice on how to go forward in purity?
Yeah, work through the factors that drive your pornography addictions that drove you, because all the sexual battlegrounds are rooted in a deep need for intimacy, a deep need for love that has been hijacked, sabotaged, or compromised, or what have you. And so it's learning to rewire that, learning to, I'm giving a quick answer. This is a much more in-depth thing, but I'd go through my sex Q&As too, because I talk a lot about the process and the journey of healing, what that looks like. I encourage you to take advantage of that.
Excellent.
Okay, is that it for now?
It is, sir.
Okay. I'm going to read this because this is a good example of venting. Why isn't God helping my family's mental health struggles is basically how I would summarize it. My husband has severe OCD. My daughter has all the things. Now I'm assuming you mean 12-year-old son, is sinking into panic attacks and worry before bedtime. We sought all the treatments, but these issues continue to be crippling. And I always caution people, be aware of, we've done everything, we've tried everything. Be aware of that. It's a limiting thing, but we do it when we're venting. We love the Lord, have a relationship with him, but in this area, he is silent. So what would it mean if he wasn't silent? Do you want to hear a voice in your house? I'm not saying that to be funny or because when people say this, I say, well, what would it look like for him to not be silent? Do you need a voice? Do you need a mental health battlegrounds are very, very difficult, very challenging. And so I'm doing what I'm doing because of the people that are suffering and me suffering. And the reason I'm reading this is to give some comment and some feedback, but also to show what happens when we just get overwhelmed, we hit our limit, and we just start venting. God, where are you? Our son called me crying in panic and worry and fear over nothing. I talked him through it and told him to have his sisters pray with him, but then hung up and told my husband I wasn't going to bother praying because it does nothing anyway. How sad and wrong, but that's how I feel. What should our thought process be here? Where is God in these areas? I used to pray with my struggling daughter and promise her that if she seeks the Lord, he'd be there and he'd help. She's 25 now and rejected him completely. Where was the Lord when my husband's OCD was so bad he had to take a medical leave of absence? I know the Bible well and know all things. I know all the things. Again, another statement. I know all the things. Nobody knows all the things, and nobody's done everything. Nobody's tried everything. But at the end of the day, it feels like God has allowed us. There's my favorite swear word in theology. God has allowed us to sink without bothering to throw us a line. So when somebody says this to me, because what you're doing is an example of venting, and we've all been in this place where you just can't take it anymore, and you go, God, where are you? David himself did it. What is going? Where are you? You've left me all alone. And so it's okay to vent. And I think you need to vent, but somewhere in the venting, we have to take a deep breath and go, okay, what do we need to do here? What do we need? So that's first. The other thing I ask people is when you say God hasn't helped, what would him helping look like? I want you to break that down. What would that help look like? Because a lot of times what we're talking about is just kind of maybe a nebulous feeling of just, I stop feeling anxious and all of a sudden I'm starting to, and it doesn't work like that, especially if you have very severe OCD in your home. This is not something that just gets lifted off. It takes very regular teaching, insight, and awareness. And OCD is not highly recognized in the body of Christ and not really understood. Christians as a whole are not going, that person's got obsessiveness. This person's got a doubting thing going on here. They have a guilt complex. We need to be more aware of like, hey, the way this person's spin is very, very severe. And so I know this feeling. I know what it's like to be in that. But what I often find myself doing is I let it all out. I vent it all out. And God's aware and he's gracious. However, that doesn't bring life change. It doesn't bring life change to me. As I vent, when I'm like, okay, I guess I'm done. Now what? I've done this with my wife. I've sat there and you just vented. But at the end of it, I feel this sense of like, okay, this isn't about God up there coming down here and doing something. This is about me participating in the learning process. And here's what's helped me. There's things I don't know. There's things I haven't put into practice. There's things I'm needing to learn, and I'm open to the learning. But the thing is, you're exhausted because your husband's got severe OCD. You see it in your kids. Your daughter's turned away from the Lord. You got all these things like flaring up and flaring up and flaring. So it creates a drowning response. So first is, I don't judge you for your venting. I get it. And I think we need to give some room for that as believers. Like we go in and we wait. We need to seek first the kingdom here. We just go to the churchy spiritual thing so quickly when there's a lot of spiritual and seeing the venting. Elijah did it David did it. You see it in scripture, this like, I can't take it. But then as you let the venting out, venting is not processing. So I need to go, okay, what's the next step for me right now? Let the love of God do that. And I recommend you go over to my heart healing and freedom page. If you go to my topics page, click on topics at the top, and then go to heart healing and freedom, and where it says start here, listen to those 3 audios and tell me what helped you in that. Okay. Now these next questions, I'm going to go a lot quicker. I've struggled with God's mercy for a long time because the Bible says that as humans, we don't deserve God's grace. So if I don't deserve it, why should I receive it? This is revealing that you've attached love and grace to a performance thing, and you're going to have to work through a sense of performance. I can't receive love unless I've earned it. And what you're coming from is a conditional form of love, and not a grace and compassion love and how God operates. And so there's an unworthiness that comes out of that. Why should I even bother receiving? Next question is about even Satan believes. I was raised in a Bible-based cult. That's very important telling because that'll affect you. It takes years to detox from a cult, just so you know, or spiritual abuse. I was always a rebel in their eyes because I did not believe what I was being taught. The main preacher would pound the pulpit and say, make sure you have a heart knowledge and not just a head knowledge because even Satan believes. That statement is understandable. It's in the scriptures. What it's saying is you can believe something exists, but it have no personal effect on your life. So there's plenty of people in this world, if you ask them, do you believe in God? They say yes. Do you believe that Jesus Christ is real? Yes. And then you ask them, do you have a personal faith? And you see there's a disconnect. But those with OCD struggle with this. It spins out that because they have doubts that they're not saved and they're not included. Now, it's an obsessive compulsive issue. So you say you have dreams, you went to heaven, opened the book of life, and your name wasn't in it. I'm never sure I know Jesus. Do I know for sure what sinner I am? I know the love of the Lord, and He is the only way from the bottom of my heart. I pray John 3:16 is enough. Finding your YouTube has been a comfort to me. I feel you know what goes on in my head. I don't think I've had trauma, but I'm wondering, what do I do? Depression and anxiety have been with me most of my adult life. I'm 71. Well, at 71, you can work through this, but I'm gonna take a guess that's probably accurate, that there wasn't good obsessive compulsive help and insight in how to deal with this. So yeah, what else you got over there, my love? Because I feel like
I don't know. Your father is bombing me with videos and Facebook Messenger, and he knows we're live. He just sent me a video of a mariachi band.
Mariachi.
Juan,
Mark.
I know you clicked like on our video. You know we are live right now. Okay. It's like when my father texts me. He knows every Sunday.
Yeah.
Every Sunday. He's like, do you want to come over for dinner? Okay, I cannot.
Yeah. Somebody is, this is what my father used to say, somebody is not putting attention.
Right.
He didn't say giving attention or is pudding. I'm like, pudding? Are we having pudding?
It's too much.
Do you not put attention? You gotta put attention. I'm like, where am I putting my attention? Am I putting it somewhere? Is this my attention? And I'm going to put it over here.
Oh, my goodness.
It's Dad, it's pay attention.
Pay attention.
It's your pay. I'm not paying for nothing.
Okay, also, we have, private. We called him Private Ron because it came up Private Ron. He doesn't know why it's coming up like that. But we want you to keep it. He doesn't know why his name is coming up like that. So it doesn't come up Private Run. It comes up Private Ron.
Oh, okay.
It came up Ron in the super chat, not Run. It came up Ron, but your name comes up private. So you have to go into your settings and you have to change that.
Yeah.
So he's confused, but you have to go in and
It's all
and
good.
he wants to know why you do not have an accent.
What do you mean?
Because your father does, but you don't.
Oh, well, big part of it is I grew up speaking English, and I wasn't born in Puerto Rico, and yeah.
Sometimes people need to know that if they're new to our channel, you know.
That's true. You gotta put attention, Mark. Yes, Dad. I wasn't calling you. I was calling your mother Barb.
Let me just tell you, didn't you just talk about this last week?
Yes.
That never gets old.
Yeah.
We have been together 20 years. It never gets old. And I die laughing.
I was recalling our kids, you know, will they like to sleep in? And I was asking you the question because, you know, getting getting Abby up for school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, the difficulty. Come on, get up. And you have such I'm not exaggerating. You have such a nurturing and kind way of waking up. Like if I'm taking a nap or something and I, you know, take a nap too long or I miss the time to get up or something like that, you come over, you're just like, you have this very kind, like, Mark. So I, my dad was just kind of like, he just like busted the door open. And something that was funny that he would do is he would always round the clock up to the next hour.
I did not know this story before and it made me laugh so hard.
Yeah. And as a teenager on Saturday, I would sleep in really late, like 11, 12, no problem. No problem. Sleep that late. And so he'd bust in. So if it's like 10 after 10, bust the door open in, Mark, it's 11 o'clock, get up. It was always, he just rounded. I'd look at my clock and Dad, it's like 5 after 10.
You're like, it's barely after 10. Okay.
Yeah.
He's rounding it up.
He rounded the clock like lawyers do their billing. He was just like, he just round that thing right up. It's 11 o'clock. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
My dad is turning into a Cuban though, very quickly.
He is.
The impression is turning into.
Yes, he is. He's turning to, what's his face? What is that movie?
Anyway,
I don't know. Are you done?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Al Pacino is what you're looking for.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Menopause is hurting me. It's really hurting me.
I'm hungry too. Let's go eat.
Me too. Let's go celebrate me and have our Mother's Day meal.
Yes, let's do it.
I'll cook for me. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah. Whoops. Wrong button.
Hey.
Well, Lord willing, the creek don't rise. This is your brother from another mother.
Oh, your sister from another mister.
Saying, we'll get it together. We'll figure it out. And we'll be back with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. In the meantime,
are we out?